Listen, listen, I know the mob doesn't violate that many laws in that short a period of time. Okay? All right? Let's be clear. Okay? Hey, absolutely no. Listen, if I were to have violated the law 2,300 times in a 6-month period, I guarantee you I would be in jail.
Happy Sunday. Welcome to the TOWTalk Podcast. My name is Denise. I'm here with Neil. And in this session, we're going to talk about the local rally in Chester that happened earlier this week. We're going to talk about some things that happened at Davos that we only touched on and haven't really been publicized elsewhere. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the crisis with the dollar. And then we have some happier news about some elections won by Democrats in the state of Texas, of all places. But before we get started, I'd like to ask you to please make sure you're subscribed to our channel. It's important to do that because as the algorithms have changed, you may miss any additional content that we have out there. Also, please, as always, remember to like, share, and leave us a comment. So on Thursday, I think it was Thursday evening, Congressman Pat Ryan held a rally at behind the Chester Town Hall on, where was it located? Oh yeah, they moved it.
It was at the Chester Commons, right behind the Chester Senior Center.
Behind the Senior Center. Now, where is for those of us who don't know where the Chester Commons is that where the shopping is, or is that on Leone Road?
No, it's the
or whatever?
park. It's the park, right? Yeah, on Lenore Road, right?
Right along, pretty much where we had the last one.
Right. It was so the village had their meeting at the Senior Center. It was at the Senior Center, but there's a park actually behind the Senior Center. So it was in the parking lot behind the Senior Center. Yeah.
So how did that go? How many people do you think showed up?
I think we were about maybe 400 or 500, maybe. I haven't gotten a final count on that. I'm sure I'll find out this week how many people actually showed up. But it was a pretty big event. It was very cold. It was a few hours, and it was very cold. But you know what? Here's what I'm gonna say: if those folks in Minnesota can stand out in negative 10 degrees, right, and do a rally, I think we can handle 10 degrees, at our rally and and press conference. So I for them, yeah, absolutely.
Was there any press there? Do you think it got any kind of coverage?
Oh yeah, the press. There was a lot of press there, believe it or not. It was a press conference, believe it or not. So it was really a Pat Ryan press conference and rally to keep basically the facility that they want to open up, not only here, in Chester, but anywhere in the United States. We should be having these.
Yeah.
So it was really a human rights rally of sorts. And Pat Ryan spoke. The supervisor of the town of Chester spoke. A councilwoman from Newburgh, from the town of Newburgh, or the city of Newburgh, sorry, and the county legislator from Newburgh also spoke. So as well as there were a couple of immigrants there who told their story, and here's what I'm going to say. The stories that you hear, they're not of criminals. They're not of rapists and everything the administration says, right? I mean, that's all. Like, I've been having a lot of conversations lately because obviously I've been kind of crazed about this. Here's the thing. Everything that comes out of this administration is a lie. The idea that there are all these rapists, murderers, and criminals out there, they're all in the freaking White House. They're all in this administration. None of them are immigrants coming into this country. Immigrants coming into this country are coming here for a better life, okay? The immigration process sucks. It's terrible in this country.
That's what we need to improve. I think
that is something we could all agree on. They had a comprehensive plan to fix immigration that Trump said, no, I don't want to do because this is what Trump wanted. The idea that these are criminals, these are rapists, and these are murderers. They are not any of those things. Okay,
Yeah.
so I'm sick and tired of that being my starting point. My starting point is every person who is on American soil, in fact, I believe every person in the world deserves dignity and human rights. Okay?
Absolutely.
That was what we fought a revolution for. That is what the Declaration of Independence says. The first line. Every person was born with inalienable rights. Okay? But no, the people in this country for some reason believe that there is a segment of this population that should be treated as less than.
Yeah.
And I'm done. I'm done having these arguments with these people. If you cannot meet me at the idea that every person deserves dignity and human rights, right? Then as far as I'm concerned, you're a racist. And
Yeah.
I'm done. There's no point in any conversation or argument that I'm going to have where I'm going to convince you of my position because your position comes with bigotry and bias.
And more, each week, these polls come out, and they're showing that less and less Republicans are supporting these policies. That this wasn't what they signed up for. They were all for getting rid of criminals. I think we could all agree on that. But they're not getting rid of criminals. Man,
Can we let's have that conversation. Let's have that conversation about criminals. Because what I am getting from MAGA and Republicans is the ends justifies the means. Okay? So let's talk about this because I've heard conversations. People love to throw out Obama. People love to throw out Biden. There were 100 detention facilities in 2024. Right? In 1 year, in 2025, that number has risen to 212.
well,
That is
170.
it is more than doubled. Okay? So there's no equivalency here. Stop with the equivalency. Not only that, the judge said, Judge Slits, right, of Minnesota, said that ICE has violated the law, okay, right, 96 times. They violated 96 orders, right, court orders, right, regarding 74 cases just in the month of January 2026.
Wow.
Okay? It has been reported now, right, that ICE and CBP have violated the law 2,300 times. Okay?
Wow.
Between July of 2025 and now.
How is this law enforcement? Tell me. First of all, they're not law enforcement. They are immigration enforcement.
No, they're not even
they're not even doing
anymore,
that.
right? Listen, listen, I know the mob doesn't violate that many laws in that short a period of time. Okay? All right? Let's be clear. Okay? Right? Absolutely no. Listen, if I were to have violated the law 2,300 times in a 6-month period, I guarantee you I would be in jail. There would be no doubt that I would be in jail. Okay?
Of course.
2,300 times.
Any of us would.
This is a criminal syndicate. This is not law enforcement. This isn't even immigration enforcement. This is a criminal syndicate. So let me give another statistic here. 30 individuals employed by ICE and CBP have been charged with crimes ranging from sexual assault, child sex trafficking, robbery, rape, torture, kidnapping, sexual abuse of a minor, and possession and production of child sexual abuse. Okay? The criminals are being given badges and being sent into our community. They aren't getting the criminals out. They're sending the criminals in. Okay? So I don't care. I'm done having the argument, right? What are you going to do with you tell me what you're going to do with your criminals first. Before you start talking to me about immigrants, tell me what you're going to do with your criminals, okay? The criminals on your side, right? Because this is no longer about politics, okay?
No.
I'm sick and tired of people saying, well, that's just politics. That is not politics. This is the law. We either are a country of laws or we're not. basically what they're saying is if you're MAGA and you're part of this administration, you sit above the Constitution. Then there's the Constitution. The only people that are really subject to the Constitution are nobody. Nobody. The Constitution doesn't exist anymore, and everybody else sits below it, where they can violate your right at any point in time. And here's what I'm going to ask. So I've been asking the question is what's the final solution here? You fill up all these warehouses, you fill up all these facilities. What's the final solution? Because you're not going to
It's a
have
good
the money
question.
at the end of the day. You're not going to have the money to maintain it. There's not going to, nobody's going to take these people. So what are you going to do? What's your final solution? Our job as parents is to protect our kids. Our job as parents is to teach our kids. Our job as parents, I heard about music, right, being detrimental to our kids. I heard about video games
Yes.
being detrimental to our kids. Oh, we need to do everything. I heard we can't have gummies because we have to protect our kids. But now you have armed men with masks going in terrorizing our children?
In
And
schools.
you say, well, that's okay. What is wrong with you people? I want to know. I personally would love to know what is wrong with you people that you feel that this is okay. My daughter is terrorized. Okay.
Sorry about
Her
that.
friends are terrorized. Okay. And you people think it's okay to terrorize children. I'm only pissed because this is directly impacting my family. Okay. They're not even fucking here, but it's directly impacting my family. My daughter, not for nothing, she goes online and she has to do research for her government studies class, for all these classes. She's taking, believe it or not, a Holocaust class too.
That's interesting.
She
That's a good
she
thing.
goes she goes online to do research. They say go and Google this, do some research. Every article she gets now is MAGA. Is MAGA's version of everything. She cannot find actual
Wow.
factual information anymore online. Everything is just government propaganda. Every article that gets pumped out now is just government propaganda. She says she has to go through pages and pages of propaganda before she can get to actual facts. And yes, my daughter is smart enough to discern the difference between propaganda and facts. The funny part is the adults apparently can't figure that out.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what they're trying to do is, this is the rewriting of history, which is what fascists do.
I think it's more of like current events for global studies and various other things that she's been having difficulty with. All I can say is I thought, Tim Waltz came out and he was like what's happening in Minnesota is reminiscent of the stuff you would read in Anne Frank's diary. But I guess this administration wouldn't know anything about that because they don't listen to little girls. They just rape them.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny, but it's not funny.
It's not funny. It's not funny at all because
Yep.
this is where we like I'm just shocked that this is where we are as a country.
Some people are optimistic that this is just that it's going to come to a head and it's going to blow up in their faces. And in some ways it is. And we'll get into that further down here. But I wanted to go to another thing because a couple of weeks ago we were talking about Davos, and you brought up an interesting point about how while Trump was keeping all the attention over on one side, talking about he couldn't figure out who we were invading, whether it was Greenland or Iceland. He couldn't tell the difference between the two. So all their attention was on that bullshit. When in fact, all these, billionaires and captains of industry or whatever they are were meddling to take ownership of properties and turn the working class into a rental class. And I wanted to sort of expand on that because, interestingly enough, earlier this week during a press conference, Trump made the statement that, how we've been talking about making affordable housing. Well, Trump made a statement to the effect that we're not going to make housing more affordable. We want to help all of our boomers hold on to their high-priced homes and keep them high-priced, which ultimately means that's going to impact, younger Gen X's, millennials, and eventually Gen Z, actually currently Gen Z, when it comes to buying homes. And so I wanted to see if you could, sort of expand on that.
Well, we what it comes down to is that the so you have to understand how these billionaires operate, right? They operate off of the idea like we think of markets as being public markets, right? We think of the idea that you invest in a company on either the Nasdaq or the Dow or something like that, and that's how you make their money. So we automatically assume, right, that that's what these billionaires are doing, but that's not actually where their money is invested. Their money is invested in private equity. Now,
Okay.
a term that I'm sure that you've heard a million
Oh,
times,
yeah.
right? With company takeovers and all that kind of stuff, right? Really, what private equity is it's the idea of giving a revenue stream, right? A standard revenue stream to billionaires. Okay, it's basically them trying to say we want to ensure that we have a certain amount of income coming in every month, no matter what. And so, they buy these companies, they load them up with debt, and they drain the cash. They drain the cash via what's called a management fee. They take a management fee. That is their standard, how they get their revenue. The idea
Okay.
that somebody's going to pay them for their expertise. They found that in the real estate market, when you're in real estate, you have rentals. Your landlord gets steady stream of income. Okay. Well, they determined that people owning homes, well, you own your home, after 30 years you own your home, maybe you don't have a loan on it or whatever, but what they've decided is no more. That
Wow.
takes too long and they don't make enough money. So what they can do is they can actually make more money renting your home.
Yes.
Okay. So the idea is to buy up properties, develop properties, and then rent them, and then create a steady stream of income for themselves, right? And make a rental society. And what we're seeing is this is permeating almost everywhere, right? The idea, you don't own your software on your computer. You have to rent it from somebody. It's called a licensing agreement, right? You
And
want to
you
have
pay it
micro
monthly or annually.
Right, you want to have Microsoft on your computer, you have to pay an annual fee to Microsoft, okay? Creating a steady stream of revenue for Microsoft, okay? You want to have your car now. Your car has software on it, okay? Like I'm finding this out myself cuz I lease my car, or even if you own a car, to use your smart remote, your app, right? Like I have an app. To use your app, you have to pay $10 a month. That creates a steady stream of revenue
Wow.
for them. Additional revenue. Now, I buy my car, I lease my car. I should have access to everything in the car. No, Tesla is doing the same thing. If you want to use their auto drive feature, you have to pay them a monthly fee or an annual fee to get access to that software. Okay,
And you're leasing your car, you're paying rent for Sirius radio so you can have radio,
right.
so you can listen
And
to more
it was
choices.
it was right. So that one of the things with Tesla that we saw, a few years ago, which is still a thing, is the idea of the resale of your Tesla. So the idea is one things that people liked about Tesla is that you could then sell your Tesla because it retained its value. So people were starting to sell their Teslas. They had them for like 5 years or whatever. And they're like, okay, I want a new car, right? With all the latest features or whatever. So they would sell their Tesla. It turns out that the software in the Tesla, which actually operates the Tesla, is not yours. Okay. So basically what Tesla said is, you want to resell your Tesla, they have to pay another $10,000 to us, Tesla, in order for them to be able to operate, the new owner to operate their
What?
car. Yeah,
Holy shit.
right.
I did not know this.
That was a thing, and that was a thing that outraged people, and that's why Tesla, is basically is if you want to sell your Tesla, you have to sell it back to Tesla, and you're not going to necessarily get
Locks
as
you
much
into
money
an
for it.
automatic trade, so you're
It
constantly locked into a
right.
payment. That's the whole I remember I used to sell cars when I was younger. I don't know that I ever mentioned that, but yes, I was in the automobile industry for 4 years. I sold cars, and that was back when, the leasing idea first born, like in the late '80s, early '90s, and the pitch was, "Oh, everybody makes a payment anyway, and then you trade in every 3 years, and then you get a new car, but you're still making payments. We'll just sell you a payment." And it's kind of a trap because you're locked into a limited amount of miles. You're locked into a certain level of insurance, so you're paying more for your insurance, and then you're locked into keeping that car pristine. Or when you show up to return it for your lease, they are going to nickel and dime you. And it worked good when cars held their value, and I guess maybe now with what's happening, we're seeing, some used vehicles holding value, but, you would have a predetermined resale price, right? And then you show up to bring your car back and they say, "Well, you got a little dent in your fender, you got a door ding, you got a crack in the windshield. This is going to cost us this much. You're 7,000 miles over. It's X amount of dollars per mile. But you know what we can do? We can sell you your car back. You can buy it outright. After you just made 3, 4 years worth of payments at $500 a month, now you can go take another loan and buy that car when you could have done that in the beginning." Leasing is a trap. I said that in the beginning when I was in the car business, and it still is
I
today.
like leasing. I lease my car. I
No.
love leasing. Leasing
It's
is great.
only I do
If you
not.
know what you're doing, leasing is good. If you know what you're doing, leasing is good, right? And
Yeah,
there's a way to do it. There actually is a way to do it, and leasing can be if you don't drive a lot. If you're not a big driver, like I'm not a big driver, right? So leasing actually works, but you're right. In most instances, leasing would not work because most people drive more than the 30 some odd thousand miles over a 3-year period, right? And then you're either forced to buy the car or you're forced to do whatever.
to
But
buy your way out of it, to have to
to
pay
buy
to
your
get out of it.
right, right, to pay to get out of it. There are certain ways to get out of your lease. We don't need to get into that, but the idea is getting back to what we were talking about. It's this idea of creating a steady stream of revenue for the billionaires. So the billionaires have decided they have these guys are the richest people in history. Okay, we're not just talking wealth. This is like extreme, like gross,
It's
like
obnoxious wealth.
right obnoxious wealth. These guys are engorging themselves in wealth, and and so at some point, right, like it's hard to continue to grow that wealth because they're hoarding it. So if you're
Yes,
hoarding wealth, you're not creating wealth. Okay? So that means you have to
good point.
extract wealth from other people. Well, they've gone after the high stuff. Now they got to go after the low stuff. And you know what? Screw you and your feelings and your ability to build wealth on your own. They don't really give a shit about you. It's
Right.
all about them. I mean, you just look at the Epstein files. Like, I mean, literally, you can look at that. You can see these people do not give a shit about anything other than themselves and whatever desires and needs that they want. They have everything handed to them on a platter. Okay. And this is what they're doing. It's they need to create this stream of revenue for themselves. This is the easiest and best way to do it. All right, they've already rated your health care, they've rated your retirement funds, they've rated pretty much everything that they can raid, okay, within limits that we would be find acceptable. So now they're going after homes, rentals, cars, phones. We're seeing it with all over the place, right? If they can find a way to make it a revenue stream for them, they're going to do it. And we're seeing it now. Like we even see it with TV,
Yes.
streaming, right? Everything is a la carte, rental, leasing, whatever. and you are paying so much more than you've ever paid before for the things that you used to pay significantly less for. And it's all in an effort to drain your wealth and give your wealth to them. It's basically reverse Robin Hood is what they're
Yeah.
doing.
Yeah, and just think about it that these different, apps that you're paying for, whether it's Apple TV or, Prime, Netflix, they're all owned by all these same billionaires. And so you it's the and they've all invested. Larry Ellison now owns Paramount, so you gotta pay for Paramount. So you're funneling your money to just a tiny, tiny, minute percentage of people, literally a handful of billionaires that you could probably count on one or both of your hands, are all collecting worldwide our money in subscriptions every month. That is a crime, and it used to be that TV was free and, the advertisers paid, and right? And then we went to the stores if we liked what we saw in the commercials, you know? Um, yeah, maybe cable wasn't such a good idea in the 1970s when it came out. So, yeah, that's very interesting that,
It's Yeah, they're just they want to do everything that they can to ensure that you remain poor and that you remain beholden to them.
yeah, that you're attached to the system. That
Right.
you are absolutely attached to the system so they can well, like a teeth. That's very interesting, and this is what they were discussing behind closed doors in these meetings, and it really wasn't behind closed doors because you saw it, right?
Well, I mean, these guys have been very vocal about what they want to do. They've been telling everybody what they want to do. And now I mean, they just passed new legislation of that they can kill your car anywhere they want, right?
Yes.
So so what is the subscription fee to ensure that they don't kill your car, that you're just not driving down the road one day and they say, well, we're going to kill your car, until you buy our extended warranty, you're not allowed to drive your car anymore, right? Like you if the company has the ability to basically kill your car anytime they want, or the idea that right, you don't own anything, right? Just like we had said, if they could kill you on the street and you have a legal gun permit and you have a legal right, and they could just kill you, then you don't then the law is that you don't have a right to have that gun. Like it's
Right.
the same thing. You don't if the idea is that they're creating laws, okay, that take away your freedom to own, then you don't have freedom at all. Right? The whole point of freedom is that you have an ability to own things. Okay? That's part of the freedom, right? That's part of capitalism.
That's
Part of
part of it.
capitalism and
Yeah.
part of the ownership society is that you have the ability to own things. And basically we've reverted, right, through this system, right, of crony fascism into this idea that you aren't allowed to own anything, in fact, right? Everything and now with them saying that the Fifth Amendment doesn't apply, right? They can come into your house anytime. They're basically saying you don't own your house. We can
Fourth.
we can invade it anytime. Or
Yeah.
Fourth Amendment.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, Fourth Amendment.
Yeah, so it's capitalism for the ultra, ultra wealthy and peasantism for the rest of us.
It's actually crony socialism for them. It's we're socializing the losses and privatizing the
I think the
profits.
profits.
Yeah,
That too.
these guys are just taking all the money, and the government is allowing them. And what's so insidious about all of it, right, is that every single subscription, every little thing that they charge you for, the government taxes you on too. Okay, so they're what they're doing is the government has expanded their regressive tax on the poor and middle class, while the wealthy get more and more tax breaks so that they can hoard more and more of their wealth.
Yeah, and Trump can
Because
get to sue the government for $10 billion.
I mean,
Right?
I mean, just
I'd take
just
that
think
money
of
too.
just think about that. Though that everybody complains about their taxes, But look at what you're getting taxed on. The idea that they continue to expand this regressive tax on the poor and middle class to take our money, and then what do they do with that money? They're giving tax breaks to the rich. They're not giving tax breaks to you who are paying these taxes. They're giving tax breaks to the rich who aren't paying tax. And for anybody who says, well, they pay more in dollars, right? Here's what I'm going to say. You pay more
Percentage.
percentage, right? Here's the percentage. You're paying anywhere between 25% and 40% of your income in
Maybe
taxes.
more.
They are paying 13% or less. Okay. So it is not equivalent. They are not paying the same amount in taxes as you. Okay.
Right.
They are
And
extracting taxes from you.
let me just add to that. That 13% is based on what they're revealing to the tax system, because they have so many different avenues to hide money, so many different ways to avoid being taxed, that in the end, what ultimately they pay those taxes on is probably far less. While the rest of us don't have that luxury.
There are so many different types of taxes. I believe that was revealed by I want to say
Wa
Warren Buffett.
Warren
Warren
Buffett.
Buffett. Yeah, Warren Buffett a few years ago. He would, cuz Warren Buffett keeps track of all that shit. He basically was like, my effective tax rate, which includes kind of everything, is like 13%. You know? And not for nothing, right? Keep this in mind too. I want everybody to keep this in mind. Social Security, okay? Your Social Security tax caps. Okay. So whereas you pay the full amount of Social Security tax on all your income if you make less than, 120 something $1,000, okay? These fuckers who are making millions and millions of dollars aren't paying
They
that
don't pay
Social
that.
Security tax on every dollar, because once that cap is reached,
I think
they pay
now the
nothing.
before the OBBB bullshit bill, I believe that was 175,000 annually. I not sure, don't quote me on this, but I think they lowered that amount in that bill, meaning now it caps even lower than the 175.
Even it doesn't matter. The
Right, but
point is
they're not
between a
being
hundred.
charged it, and
The point
billions.
is, and the point is, these guys are making billions of dollars a year, and they're paying they're not paying any payroll taxes on that at all. They don't have
Yeah,
to pay payroll taxes at all. And if that income is related, it isn't. And keep in mind too, most of these guys don't even take a salary, so they're
right,
not paying any of those taxes, right? Because their money is made off of capital.
right.
So, they're paying lower tax rates than you ever would. I It boggles my mind that this fight is really between, you know, top and bottom, okay? But people seem to be making it right because of people's bigotry and racism, and because this administration keeps coming out and saying, well, migrants are criminals. People now have that in mind because it just keeps getting repeated over and over again,
Well, that's how they believe it. They hear it
you
over and
know?
over and over. It's gone from, and so, well, they're looking at the immigrants, right? They're looking at the immigrants. They're the ones, Lake and Riley, and now they're all murderers of Lake and Riley. But they don't look at these people who have been picking your pocket for years, and now more so than ever. There's even more pickpocketing, such as what's happening with private schools. They now have vouchers that come out of your school taxes to pay for their kids to go to private school.
Where is the bill? Where is the bill, right? Because we have bills, asset forfeiture bills for drug cartels, right? Which then they started using against poor people. Okay, we now have Lake and Riley, which basically got rid of due process and the Fourth Amendment, right? Okay, wonderful, right? Where is the bill? I want to know, with the release of where is the bill that uses asset forfeiture against billionaires that do child trafficking?
Yeah,
Where's
where is
that
that?
fucking bill? Where's that fucking bill? Okay, right? Where is the asset forfeiture bill for these assholes, these billionaire assholes who were child trafficking? Okay, like there's just the equivalency here. The idea that we talk about laws that affect poor people, but anytime we talk about billionaires, well, we don't want to create any laws for them because they're going to leave. We always hear, oh, they're going to leave. They're going to leave. Are we
Go.
being serious? Like,
Those, by the way, the worst of these billionaires are immigrants. The most, I mean, you have
oh yeah,
Rupert
the South
Murdoch.
Africans,
We
Peter
got Rupert
Thiel,
Murdoch.
Rupert
We got
Murdoch, right? Peter Thiel, Rupert Murdoch, Elon
they've
Musk.
all completely gamed our whole system of government. Murdoch brought
Right,
in propaganda and normalized it, right? And then you
right,
have Musk Musk and Thiel have been collecting billions and billions in our tax dollars for contracts to keep themselves afloat. And now they're using it, and look at how much money we've given to Palantir that is now being used
right,
against us to surveil us. And believe me, it isn't just that they're not surveilling Mega, they're surveilling everybody. Everybody,
yeah.
because everybody is a threat. Because eventually we're all going to catch on to this. You're going to catch on to this, even if you don't want to. You will.
They,
And
they,
they know
they,
that's when you're a threat.
the Senate and House passed a bill, right? Passed a bill that allowed senators, not everybody, just senators, mind you, right, who were investigated by Smith, right, right.
Yes, I remember this.
Nothing illegal was done. Smith followed the law, right? So nothing illegal was done, but Smith investigated certain individuals who were right because that was his mandate. That's what he was to
Is
do,
it
right? $500,000, just $500,000 from the Treasury going to these guys, right? They
because they
did
got
that
their phone records checked?
because they got their phone records checked, which was legal, right? Like it was legally
It's
done.
illegal.
Yet, right? Yet the government is surveilling us, right? At level like they are pulling internet data. They're literally looking at your phones. They're looking at they can now like sit here and look through your cameras. They're installing new software that basically they own all your personal data and can give it to anybody that they want and share it with the government. Okay. And we can't do anything. We can't sue. We have no right to privacy whatsoever. Even though the Constitution guarantees a right to privacy, right? Basically, what we're being told is we have no right to privacy whatsoever. This is all acceptable to do. So it's laws for thee, not for me. Laws for thee, not for me. Okay? That is what they're doing. And that's why you don't see a law that says asset forfeiture if you're in a child trafficking ring.
Wow.
It makes no sense to me. To me, if this is what you're going to do, there should be an asset forfeiture law so that billionaires who get caught child trafficking have their assets frozen and taken away from them
Yeah.
so that they can't traffic anymore. But here we are. They're still fucking doing this shit. They're still doing this shit, right?
Well, they're in.
Maxwell is in a fucking country club right now, right?
Yeah, I
living
know.
living a better life than any of the immigrants put in detention facilities.
Yeah, who are just not guilty of anything other than being brown, and many of this, and that's a whole other conversation. But a lot of let's just suffice it to say, the overwhelming majority, and this was reported by Newsmax. They said 75%. I think it's higher. Aren't criminals at all.
No, what they
Aren't
said
criminals at all.
is 75% had no criminal history whatsoever. Between 75% and 90%, right? It wasn't that they had no criminal history. It's that those people had traffic violations.
Or minor,
Okay?
minor things that we
It
all
was
do every single fucking day.
Right, minor traffic violations. If you think that minor traffic violations should have you put into a detention facility, I would love to see MAGA, who fucking drives like fucking crazy all the time and they don't follow any laws. I would love to see that every time they go to traffic court, they have to spend 10 days in a detention facility. Let's see how they fucking like it.
Yeah. Yeah. So there we are on our little discussion of what's what's happening in Davos. We're all going to be renters unless we fight back, unless we make a difference in elections coming up. And we all need to be engaged because of what happened in Atlanta. And I'll just touch on this briefly with Trump sending in the FBI to collect all the ballots from the 2020 election because he just can't get over the fact that he's lost. Um, it was reported by Mark Elias of Democracy Docket. He feels that this was done because Trump was looking for a way to sort of game the midterms. Uh, But we still need to move forward. Don't use that as a means of making you feel like all is lost, that we can't win any elections, because, surprisingly enough, there was a special election, I think it was yesterday or the day before, in Texas, 2 special elections. They were both won by Democrats. State legislator, I think it was a state senate. This was a big election. Was won by Taylor Remet, Rehmet. And what's interesting, what I heard, it was reported by Mark Romano from Romano Report. He said that the Republican candidate was a MAGA Republican with a name that I'm not even going to try to pronounce. It's a weird last name. He spent something like 20 times the amount of money on his campaign as Taylor Remet did. And this was in a district that was won by the last candidate. It was a 17-point Trump district, and it was flipped. And this is a state district, this is a state senator, and it was flipped, and he spent 20 times less money as the Republican candidate did and won. So that's really surprising. And then, why don't you I forgot,
Cri-
Memismo is
no, Christian Menefee
okay, I was
won
close.
won his race. He was backed by the Leaders We Deserve, which is the David Hogg um, pack. He won a special election that also occurred in Texas, replacing a congresswoman who had passed away back in 2025, and this was the runoff election. So there was a number of people in the race. Democrats had backed the other individual. I can't remember her name, but Christian Menefee had won the race on a very, anti-ICE platform. And so, now there's one less seat for Johnson that he has to cover. So his margin is getting slimmer and slimmer.
What
And
do you
he is
do you know what the
he's
margin
absolutely
is now?
no, but he to pass anything, he's going to need Democrats to do it. And as we saw with the last bill, where like Swazi and Gillen in New York voted to pass it, right? That the Democrats are just itching for this type of shit.
Yeah.
Like if anybody can snatch defeat from victory, it's the Democrats. They'll find a way to do it. Like
But what we got was a more progressive candidate,
yes,
a real fighter defeating establishment Democratic candidates for that seat, because that was already a seat that was owned by a Democrat, correct?
yes,
That's
yeah,
probably
correct.
why it's not getting as much publicity. Also because the Democrats are realized the establishment is
Well,
also in trouble
what they
here.
don't want, right, and that's the big thing. They don't want people, they want Democrats to win, but they don't want, right, the David Hogg Democrats to win.
They don't want
Okay, they
candidates.
don't want grassroots candidates. They don't want people who are, who want to see, us start over on immigration. They want, the what needs to happen now is comprehensive immigration reform, and ICE needs to go
Exactly.
away. We need to start over. I mean, even the village idiot comes to that conclusion at this point in time. I mean,
Yes.
I I
Yes.
I I really like, listen, as a business person, all right, throwing bad money after bad money is never a good idea. You want to take your money, and you want to know that when you put money into something, that you're going to get what you want. And it's pretty clear this isn't what the American people want. None of this is what the American people want. In fact, the American people want comprehensive immigration reform, but Democrats
Yeah.
and Republicans have loved using it as a wedge. Like, I mean, this is really what it comes down to. Democrats and Republicans have stopped negotiating with each other. They've stopped coming to common sense compromises because they both have decided, right? Listen, let's just keep these wedge issues. That way we all can fight over the wedge issues while we're raiding the Treasury,
Yeah.
right? And so,
Yeah, I can agree with that.
coming to the next topic, right, is the Treasury itself, right? What is this really going to mean? I mean, right now the bond market is falling. Okay?
Yes.
What is not being reported and what people don't understand is the dollar is losing its value. Okay? This is like the scary, my worst fear when Trump got in was exactly what is happening now. And it's not ice. Okay? Our whole system, okay, of our money is based on really a Ponzi scheme. Okay? And it's really
Great.
fucking scary and it's really delicate. Okay? And part of that is this idea that we issue debt, right? So we have debt coming due every year and we issue new debt to not only cover our old debt, but when they have those conversations about raising the debt ceiling, that's to issue new debt. Okay.
Right.
So it's this idea that we just keep rolling over debt. Okay. Who buys our debt? We've had China, because we're the world's reserve currency, right? China buys our debt. Japan was one of the major buyers of our debt.
I think
And
they own the most.
Right. And Saudi Arabia was one of the Saudi Arabia deal was the OPEC deal that was negotiated by Ford in the 70s, right? Actually, not Ford, Kissinger, believe it or not. It was the OPEC deal. It was that deal. So in other words, OPEC basically said, we will ensure that oil can only be purchased with the US dollar. And in exchange for that, and exchange for security for Saudi Arabia, which we provide, right? We are the ones that provide security for Saudi Arabia. They would buy our treasury bonds and ensure that was the reserve currency and that oil could only be transacted with in dollars. So what happened? Everybody going out and cheering the whole Maduro thing, you're an idiot. You're just a fucking idiot. Venezuela is an OPEC country. Okay? Right? An attack on Venezuela is an attack on OPEC. Dumbasses. Okay?
That will resonate.
So what ends up happening? Well, Saudi Arabia now says, well, you attacked an OPEC country and you stole our oil. Okay? Right? Because at the end of the day, it's all Saudi Arabia's oil, right? Like it's this Ponzi scheme. So now Saudi Arabia is kind of like sitting there going like, yeah, you know what? When the debt comes due, we're just not going to buy any more debt. So China stopped buying, Japan stopped buying. There's literally no takers of U.S. debt, U.S. treasuries. So Besant in 2026 has to sell, get this, $3 trillion worth of U.S. debt in 2026. Otherwise, the U.S. defaults. Okay? And right now there are no buyers, right? And remember, Trump is out there threatening tariffs on people. Nobody trusts the United States anymore, right? Like the delicate balance is the idea of trust. Okay? NATO, this idea that the OPEC treaty, I mean, there are all these treaties out there, okay? We had treaties with the Netherlands, all these treaties out there that Trump is just saying, fuck you, I don't give a shit. And MAGA's sitting there like, yeah, we finally have a tough president, but you have to keep in mind, all of these treaties, all of this stuff, all balanced our economy. Okay. The New World Order is coming. Now, whether you like it or not, Brinks is real. Brinks now says that you can transact in buying oil in other denominated currencies. OPEC has now agreed to that. Okay.
Wow.
So we are done. Our dollar is now done. Okay. That $30 trillion in debt, it could easily be $100 trillion by the end of the year. Okay. When
Really?
I say, okay, when I say that this country can't afford these warehouses, right? That I'm saying short term we can't even afford those warehouses, because the more money that they pour into the warehouses, okay, the more money that comes away from healthcare, from other services, roads, water, sewer, like all the other agencies. The reason why they want to get rid of all the other agencies is because they want to put everything in the Department of Homeland Security. They want everything into ICE. They want a secret police force that's going to control the population when the shit hits the fan. Right? And it's going to hit the fan.
Looks like it might be hitting the fan a little sooner than they anticipated from what what you're saying.
There's a lot going on. There's a lot of nuance to this. I can tell you that Jerome Powell, right? And listen, I'm not a big fan of Jerome Powell, but Jerome Powell is literally holding this country together by a thread. Okay? And Trump is trying to pull that thread out. Okay? And it can go up like a tinderbox just like that. Like we are on the precipice of a new world order, right? So when I say, what happens when we can't afford these warehouses, because the deportations all reside on the idea that we're paying other countries to take, right, these immigrants. If our money is now worthless, the other countries don't need our money anymore. They're not going to take our money, right? Like, think about that. Okay. If they can't use our money as the reserve currency to buy oil and resources for themselves, right, which is really what they're doing, okay, then that's the end of it. Okay, then we have nowhere to send them, because we have nobody to bribe to take these people.
And that's where you come to that question about what is the final solution.
What is the final solution? Because
Think
at
about
the
that.
end of the day, there is no way America can afford these things. In fact, a lot of what America has now, it's not going to be able to afford in a year. They've literally run this country into the ground at this
In a
point in
year's
time.
time. Think
In a
about that.
year's time, they listen. We were always on this path. Okay, this path was always, you know, this path was always there for us. Okay. Trump just put it on steroids and decided that he was just going to jack it up really quick and just expedite shit. Okay.
Yeah.
And listen, not for nothing, he gave $40 billion to Argentina, which Argentina immediately handed over to a U.S. private equity firm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Think about
Because they needed to pay off their debt. So we bailed out a private equity firm, right? One of these billionaires, we bailed them out. Everything is about bailouts. And now he wants to give another $500 billion, $500 billion, right? To Alberta, Canada, right? To secede from Canada. Now, here's going to be the part. I guarantee you, whoever those separatists are up in Canada, you give them $500 billion, they're buying a fucking island and they're gone.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. They're walking off with our tax dollars.
They're right,
$500 billion.
right.
I heard there was talk about that, but I didn't hear about that. $500 billion? What the fuck?
$500 billion, right? So Alberta can join the United States, but I guarantee you those fuckers are taking that money and they're opening up their own island. They may buy Epstein Island for $8 billion. Like, I mean, seriously, like these guys are going to be gone so quick. Like, those people up there, listen, they may not be happy, right, with certain things, but they love their education, and their free education, and they love their
Their
healthcare,
healthcare.
and being a part of the United States, where they're basically going to be told, you could homeschool, and we're not paying for your healthcare anymore. Those people are going to turn around and run back to Canada so quick it won't even be funny.
Yeah. Yeah. No, they're just looking to make a fast buck because it's very unpopular to for Canadians. I've you know, and we know that from just a few months ago. Back in August, we did a little
Right.
stint. You can go back a while, back in the beginning of our podcast when we're still learning how to do this. I talked about that letter that state senator from Maine,
Yeah.
Martin, I think his last name is, wrote a letter to Alberta, Canada, and a few other of the western provinces. Stating very arrogantly the provisions that they needed to comply with in order to become part of the United States. It was very controversial, and it got a lot of attention. And let me tell you, I didn't see a single out of 23,000 posts that hit that video. I didn't see one single post that was in support of joining the United States. They absolutely dragged that guy. And I apologize for mispronouncing sovereignty in that video. Just want to point that out. I kept saying sovereignty. So, yeah, so this is pretty fucked up. And it's
Yeah, this is
interesting.
right.
I don't think people realize this is probably even bigger than anything else that's going on, because if we are bankrupt, that's going to bankrupt the country. You know,
Here's the thing. We have never seen in modern history, right, a reserve currency, right, that ends up going bankrupt. We have never seen that before. We don't know what the consequences of that actually is at this point in time. Okay? And the consequences of which could be the most devastating, right? Like the Great Depression, that
nothing.
that may look great comparatively speaking to what we might see. Okay? I mean, at a minimum you're talking about a devaluation of the dollar.
Massive devaluation from what you're saying.
Correct. Like we're already seeing these things. We're already seeing prices go up. Prices aren't ever going to go down. Prices are going to continue to go up. It's going to be really, really bad. The idea of oil production, right, has gone down in the United States. They're capping wells in the United States, or refineries are closing down in the United States because they don't have the right crude oil to refine. The United States
Let
is
me
not
just let
in a
me
position of power right now.
Well, there's that. And let me just ask you this, to that point about oil. Could it also be that our buyers that used to buy from us are now buying from other sources? And so they don't have a market to sell that oil as that they had a year
No,
ago.
there's always, listen, everybody, the oil consumption, right, is the highest it's ever been. Okay?
That this
The
is this is
world,
worldwide.
yeah, the world is, the world's need for oil it just continues to grow. The US just doesn't have the ability to produce what it was able to produce, a few years ago. And what we're seeing, so this happens from time to time, and apparently we're now entering the phase of probably about, because the last time this happened in the US, it was about 20 years. We're entering the phase of about 20 years where oil production will steadily decline before we can get it back up again.
Wow. Okay. So that's also going to have an impact on
we
everything here
we
going on here.
they are we I'm all I'm going to say is our politicians have failed us so miserably, okay, because of the fact that they relied on the United States being the reserve currency of the world. Okay, They have rested on their laurels. They didn't understand what it was that they were supposed to be doing, right? And the sensitive balance that our system relied upon, Trump has decided that he's going to dismantle. Okay? And instead of our politicians saying no, right? They took money from the same assholes, okay? And they said full speed ahead. I mean, come on. Look at I mean, look at the leadership of the Democratic Party right now, right? Instead of like
Chuckles.
we're
Chuck
we're
the
we're
schmuck.
like sitting here like I think we need to start over with immigration, right? Like we're like, yeah, maybe things aren't really going the way, human rights, dignity, right? Like those are things that the American people stand for. Okay, you have Chuck Schumer going, we want in the bill not to deport American citizens. Right. The argument right now is that the Democrats are saying that American citizens shouldn't be deported, and Republicans saying, "Oh, we don't want to go that far." Right? Like this is like the fucking argument, right? As if the Constitution doesn't matter anymore, right? The Republicans and Democrats have both thrown out the Constitution. They've literally decided that they're going to make it their toilet paper and wipe their ass with it. Okay, and we're just making up the rules now as we go along. So like you have leadership saying, well, we don't think ICE should be, violating, should be entering homes without a judicial warrant.
It's kind
Let's
of
put
part of
that
the
let's put that
Constitution.
that's the Constitution, and that's actually in DHS's charter. Like it's in their policies. Okay? Right? Like not wearing masks. That's actually in their policies. Not shooting people in their
That
policies.
kind
Not
of in
stepping
the
in front of
policies.
vehicles. Right? It's in their
And
policies. Right? These are all things that DHS is supposed to be following that it's not. Right? So you have a lawless agency. Instead of saying this is a lawless agency, Democrats are sitting there arguing over policy that is already in place. You know, I had to hear about Benghazi for fucking 6 goddamn years.
we're
Right?
still
I
hearing
had to
about it.
hear
They'll still bring it up
I
when they got nothing else to
I
fight
had
about.
I heard about Hillary's fucking emails for years, and Democrats are sitting there going, you know, maybe we shouldn't deport American citizens. No shit, Sherlock. Like I mean, this is honestly the weakest Democratic Party I've ever seen in my life. They have no courage. There's no leadership here. It
Nobody
literally
has
is
courage.
it literally is just them saying we just need to make it, don't hit the ball to me. Like they're standing in an outfield, right? Like this is the kid standing in right field. Don't hit the ball to me. That's Chuck Schumer. Chuck Schumer sitting in right field, right, with his glove at his side, going, "Don't hit the ball to me. Don't hit the ball to me." I've had enough. Like, I mean, uh, dude, the ball has been hit to you a million fucking times, and you've literally found a way to snatch defeat from victory, right? It's like, oh my god, we won this one. Yo, I have to figure out. Give me a loss. Give me a loss. I need to lose. I need to lose. Like he's running around looking for ways to lose. I mean, it 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 boggles my mind. It really boggles my mind that the judge said you have to file a lawsuit if you want the Epstein files. Nobody files a lawsuit. It's like they really just it's like everything is performative
Yes, from both sides.
from both
Sooner
sides.
or
It
later, the people got to wake up and realize this is
right.
an us versus them.
It's
It's not each
perf-
other.
Right. It's performative, right? They all go into a room, Trump, the Republicans and Democrats all go into a room and they make decisions and they say you guys do this, we do this, and everybody will be fine. Like and then we all come out and you say this and we say this. It's all theater. It's all theater. When you realize that it's all theater, okay, everybody is lying and the reality is some third or fourth option that nobody even talks about. That's when you can wake up and realize none of these people are on your side and you need to go in a different direction. You know, they've sold you on their bigotry and white supremacy. And you have normal people thinking, well, I'm repeating what they say, so that's okay. I'm not a racist. Uh, you know, like, okay, I get what you're saying, but you are. When you
They
repeat the lies of the administration, I'm sorry, that makes you complicit in what they're doing.
Wow. Wow. So here we are. I mean, is there so do you have anything optimistic to say? Anything semi-positive? Hope? Wow, no
No,
answer.
I got no answer. I got no answer. My final thought on this is what we have is we have community. We have our neighbors, we have each other. People need to find their way to get out of national politics, look at their local community, look at their neighbors and say, I have to stand with these people. These are my neighbors, whether I agree with them or not. I have to stand with these people. Okay? We all have to stand together. Okay? And if we can't stand together, there will be no community left for us. There will be nothing left for us. There will be no family. There will be no friends. There will be no community. Okay?
Wow.
All we have is each other. We have to stick together. We have to fight together. Okay? Because nobody's going to do it for us.
There you go. Yeah, you're exactly right. I was actually gonna wind up in the in the same place, you know? Come out, support. Remember we had, a rally in Chester. There'll be other ones. Um, I had one quick point that I just wanna add on that, when we're doing rallies, we need to be out in the public more, not behind a town hall or a senior center. They need to be on the streets in front of people so the rest of your communities that aren't paying attention to what's happening. You'd be surprised how many people just check out of politics with all that's going on and have no idea what is coming. And this, I hate to say it, but I think with this last segment regarding the dollar collapsing, I think that's inevitable at this point. I hate to say it, but that's just they are looking to game the system. They have done everything they can to kill our economy while making a fake promise that they were going to make it better. It's not better. Nothing is cheaper. Everything's getting more expensive. So we need to continue speaking out, standing up for our communities, standing up in our communities. And when it comes to these types of rallies, they shouldn't be behind a building. They should be out in front on the road where everybody can see it, in open parking lots where people can be, where we can get together and other people can come over and find out what's going on. All right. So I think we're going to wind up here. This has been an extended podcast, but um, this was a conversation that had to be had. So as usual, if you haven't already, please remember to like, share, and subscribe. I've got a little button right on the screen there on to your right that you can click on to subscribe and leave us a comment. Let us know how you feel. Always like and share. Also, we are going to be doing our Tuesday night live stream. We'll be doing it at 8 o'clock because we're just not getting back by 7 by the time we get ready. But we'll cover some stuff going on and any events that are going on there. If you have a topic you'd like us to discuss or questions you'd like us to discuss, drop them in the comments so you can send a private message to us and we will talk about it online. All right, and that will be I'll put up a link to our live stream for this Tuesday night, 8 p.m. And thanks so much for watching, and we will see you soon. Love you guys.
Peace out.
Peace out.